Hi, Will from Sound on Sound here at the Musikmesse in Frankfurt with Chris from Line 6. Chris, how are you doing?
I'm doing great, and thanks for showing up here. And let's talk a little bit about a new product that we have. How about that?
So what is it?
Well, we here in Frankfurt, Musikmesse 2018, just like you said, we're launching Powercab. And Powercab is basically an active speaker system for amp modelers, more or less. Which is, it's always one of those things when you have an amp modeler like a Helix or a Pod or something like that, how do you amplify it to make it feel like, like for a player, does it feel good like a guitar amp? And we had the idea of looking at ways of making this more behave like an amp in the room. Because a lot of times you have the option of plugging into like a PA system or a monitor speaker or something like that. And that's great because it gives you the full range of sound. So you just plug your modeler in and you get kind of a studio style sound. But it doesn't react like a guitar amp. And a lot of guitar players still like the idea of feeling a guitar amp and the room filling sound. So that was our approach to say, hey, why don't we make a amplifier system, an active system, like we have here in the Powercabs, that does exactly that behaves like an amp in the room, that also gives you the full range of sound or frequency from 70 hertz to 20 kilohertz. So you can still plug your modeler in and get a great sound, but it has the fast transients of a guitar speaker and the slight distortion and all that. The actual trick that we do, it's not a trick, but the way we do it, we have a 12-inch speaker, a woofer in there, and we also have a 1-inch compression driver for the high frequency, so we get the whole frequency spectrum. And that's a really nice thing to have if you're a player with a modeler, right?
So what's the advantage of having the 1-inch compression driver in there then?
It helps you get the sound like a studio monitor or like a full range PA system. Because a lot of times when you're using a modeler, you have the amp model and you have a speaker model and a microphone. And what you get now through the speaker is the sound of a guitar cabinet that's mic'd, right? Which sounds and behaves differently than an actual speaker in the room. Which, there's a dynamic there that, you usually don't have. And this is what we're trying to create here with the Powercabs. Mm-hmm. Now, the other thing that you can do that we thought would be really smart is give you the option of actually physically, or virtually actually, to take this speaker, this full range speaker, and give you options of modeling this like very, often used and famous guitar speakers, like a vintage 30, like a Greenback, like a Jensen speaker. And we thought, wouldn't it be cool if you actually wanted this cabinet to behave like the actual amp, like let's say an AC30? Wouldn't it be cool if this speaker could model an Alnico Blue speaker that you usually find in an AC30? And then all you have to do in your modeler is turn the internal speaker simulation off and use the Powercab speaker model to really, get this idea of playing an amp in the room. Mm-hmm. And so there's 6 different speaker types in there, from the classics, as I said, vintage 30, greenbacks, creambacks, to more boutique-y stuff. And it gives you, with a flick of a switch, gives you the option to go like, I want this to sound, it's more of a rock or metal tone, maybe it's a vintage 30 is cool, or I'm more of a blues guy and maybe a creamback is nice for that. So you have options of, sculpting your tone and make it feel like the actual amp in the room.
And in terms of practice levels then, can you use this thing if you're working at home, or is this specifically for the stage?
You can use it at home, of course, but it's designed to be an on-stage amplification system. It can get really loud, 125 dB. We have 250 watts of power that really is designed to be on stage either as a backline, or we also have a kickstand, so you can angle it and use it as a floor wedge. So you still have the advantage of getting your monitored sound, so to speak, but also get the interaction on stage, get the feedback, get all that kind of stuff.
And what about sending this signal on to front of house? How's that handled?
You can still do this. There's an XLR out that gives you that gives you a virtual microphone on that speaker. So you still have a great direct sound to front of house while you're listening through the actual cabinet to your live sound. And that's one option that you can do. You could also daisy chain them with a second one and have a big stereo spread, for example. You could still run, if your modeler allows it, go from the modeler to front of house and go into this. So there's a bunch of options. We try to kind of cover most bases.
Great. So how much is it going to cost then, and when will it be available?
So we have two different SKUs, or two different products. The Powercab 112, which is kind of the basic one. It gives you the 6 speaker sounds and kind of the flat mode. And that is, I don't have it in pounds, I apologize. But
it's okay, euros is fine.
In euros, I believe it's 699. And then there's the Powercab 112 Plus, which in addition to giving you the speaker models, also lets you load custom impulse responses. So if you have your favorite maker of third-party custom impulse responses that you want to use.
Say Celestion, for instance?
Could say that, Other brands are available, I guess. So you can load these in. It also allows you to daisy chain, as I described earlier, daisy chain the cabinets and then keep that digital, because it has a digital input as well.
Okay.
Also has USB, so you could use it not only with an editor that's available for it to load your presets and IRs, but you could also use it as an audio interface.
So you can literally take the feed straight out of there digitally. There's an audio interface in there.
Yeah.
So what's the sampling rate then, and what's the bit depth that the USB audio interface can operate at?
You can run this at 16-bit at 44.1 or 48 kilohertz. So it gives you, a standard audio quality, right?
Okay, and I understand there's Midi on it as well.
Right. The Plus, Powercab Plus, has Midi in and out as well, which means you could set your modeler up to remotely change the speaker configuration in there per preset. So you have your clean sounds, and you might want the Jensen sound, and then you go for a kind of Marshall-y sound, and you might go for the greenback. You could control this via Midi, which is kind of an interesting little thing to have. So that's the Powercab 112 Plus, and that retails at, I believe, €8.99. Available towards the end of this month, beginning of May. In Europe.
Thank you very much, Chris.
Well, thanks, Will.